the Bhagwan was dwelling on Master Watcher Mount, mass of natural mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagwan was absorbed in the concentration of categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara: how should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Sharadodiputra, Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Forms, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form is not also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition, factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition, factors, no consciousness, no eye, no nose, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness elements. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalt, wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on developing the perfect wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear, having completely passed beyond error. They reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifest the complete awakening to the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Gade para sangha de bodhi swaha. Natha gade para sangha de bodhi swaha. Yatha gade para sangha de bodhi swaha. Gunshe nige nishe tenze kanye tan dola pembara chenam lamshe nige jikden ten rup zeba kanda yanda tembe tumnam namba kunde naso nyende chanjul sembe tsoche sangye kine yumde la chatse. This is a verse from Abhisamayalankara salutation. The verse next is verse of salutation from Nagarjuna's Mula Madhyamaka Karika. Manam ke tamba de la cha lo.
어제 이어서 계속 하시겠다고 하십니다. 경을 모두 봐주십시오.
시험도 그야말로 자주 생긴 누가로 대비를 고바는 차 산에 누가 괜히 숙성들이가 근데 영향 이게 영향이 시험 과정이야. 정말 이슈가 시험 정도가 대단 선전 산으로 연구하는데 내가 선전 가능 연구하는데 이거 내도 그냥 생각해요. 대단하야. 미국 선전 가능이 이 터도 산이고 대파를 제외 산입니다. 또 이 마다 마셔라는 여러분하고 다시 쟤는 유학에서는 유학. 어떤 기술이요? 선제성은 그냥 내가 전화가 오잖아. 다시 쟤는 전화가 오잖아. 선제 가능 영수는 요리하고 있습니다. 네, 영화를 선제 영화를 기술이요. 이 양조 개리
누나 제 전주 삼바시 미저에 쳐로스 전주 삼바 강 그다음에 그 전주 삼바 미버 셈 쳐도 샤워 셈제 딘주도 때니 대체도 이제 산지지 고반 톱 사바 좀다 산지지 고반데 딘주실로 샤용 거보다 딘주시 삼 담바이나 다 로디 심제 딘주도 따와데 치질로 차대요. 딘제도 건전 줍혀야 말이지. 다 뒤송도 봐. 전주 삼바시 미저처럼 전주 삼바 세야디 청주 삼바 딘제 그 심제도 누셔나 심제 딘주도 따나 아니 전주 삼바시 전주 삼바시 미저선 전주 삼바시 쓰기 말이지. 가라슬람나 청주 삼바 세야디 청주로 삼바진 거래. 봐. 샘전 타다 청주로 건드는 삼배 랑그 청주 원도 찬도고 로체니 청주 가 청주 샘기 싫고 다 닝지 샘전을 믹 싫어기 청주로 믹스기야 해. 자, 디레 인도산에 딘데기 가서 우리 사만은 짐배 다 로젠지기 청주 통통 말했어. 봐. 자, 디레 인도산에 청주를 시에는 대바타바디 용토야 매버리. 오부 넘버원도 잡다. 오부 넘버원도 전에. 자, 디레 인도산에 청주 삼바 오부 넘버원도 전에 청주 삼바 지금 이나 청주 모시 청주 모처 청주랑 그 톱다 요 말이데 이네 태성 다저 태성 그 타네 아니 청주 써야지 예버지 가서 우리 그게 그 상무단다 냠뇽제 요 말이데 이네 모쳐야지 배는 가란지 배는 내가 멍구지 마음배 내가 지하로 최시르지 내가 3년 날이야 지금 샤르체 아니 3년 날 샤니 따디 전도 내야지 용어리야 내가 전도 내르지 로를 샤워로 로를 샤야 그 전다디 다다 주요 말이 다다 무슨 통야도 레야시도 요 말이 이네 3년 날이야 딘듯이 두토그리 딘듯이 용그리 삼바지 딱제체 그다음 에너지 배로 차셔는 지 가서 우리 그게 지고 딱제체 아니 멍구지기다 바 구두제니 다 들으지 루토그리 사지 싫어게 네바네베 타라 다디 탄도냐 그 전이글로 리그로 와다 지찌거리셔 근데 이 메뉴산에 사만은 짐베 로젠지기 셈제 사만은 짐 산지육다 찬 모차나 찬다 사마스 고마다 모차나 찬 사만은 짐바 모니지 두버 따와 근데 지금 모니지 두버 따에 로 딘지기 타네 모니지 두베 셈제를 미 모니지 두베 남긴 전이글 로 깨나 전주서 봐 말해 스타디 송겨야 돼 오분노 병원도 전다 전주 삼바시 미제외처로 대지지셔나 람조로 강 셈전도 두시 조감 소도 두시 조감 강사도 두시 로로 모슈르 셰셰 근데 요구로 봐 나야 최지 다음에 시지 말로 녜댕에 싫어고 차네 빼나니야랑 파고도 되지 최지 다음에 치지 말로 녜봐서도 마세베 응원도 줄세 요아래디 다 다미니 응원도 줄세 요아래디 이내 듬베 심슈고 차네 장주고 섬기 누바 마당체 랑도 이지 삼배 타바트니 로 쌈기 동이 다오 공비하러 봐 그다디 준대샤네 택시 주다 마와 얘네 택배 차네 가서라 년도 차디 걸어 봐 그래도 와 저다 안데 오문도 못 잖아 근데 저래샤 메시지로 야 찍주시다
So yesterday we touched on the practice of bodhisattvas in terms of cultivating bodhicitta for the benefit of sentient beings. And so, because all sentient beings just like oneself, do not want suffering but want happiness, and therefore the bodhisattvas, or those aspiring to become a fully enlightened person, a Buddha, should think of leading all sentient beings to the state of Buddhahood. That's what we talked about yesterday. And in order to be able to become a Buddha, what you have to understand is that suffering and its causes are something that we can get rid of, that we can overcome, and that and you have to see the possibility of attaining or achieving that of this final goal of liberation, the full enlightenment of Buddhahood, or technically called the non-abiding nirvana. And so in order to be able to understand that, you cannot just have the intention to become the Buddha, which is that of the bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is only an intention or an aspiration to become a Buddha. But in order to fulfill that goal, what you aspire, the Buddhahood, you have to be help yourself with that of the wisdom, intelligence and understanding, and then gain certitude in the fact that enlightenment is possible, and that all the suffering and its causes are. It's possible to get rid of the causes of suffering and its causes. And therefore, while you say that, now in the text, if we go through the text, it says, although on page number 4, the third last line, it says, although limitless sentient beings have thus been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow, no sentient being whatsoever has been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow. Now here, what is being taught is that if you leave enlightenment and the paths and the grounds of bodhisattvas that lead to that enlightenment of Buddhahood without analyzing them, then of course we have those of the resultant state of Buddhahood that we can that becomes our final goal, and then the paths and the grounds leading to them. But then still, what is being said by the phrase which no sentient being whatsoever has been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow, what this shows is that if you analyze things, examine the paths, the grounds and fruition of Buddhahood and all these then of course you will not find anything that you can point to as being this and that. And so under analysis, using your discriminative wisdom, then you will not find the path and grounds and the Buddhahood. But then they are there. And so what is being shown here is that the sentient beings as well as that of nirvana do not exist truly, inherently, but they do exist conventionally. And so what is important here is that we have to train in the path without clinging to this true existence of the phenomenon, true existence of sentient beings as well as the nirvana, our goal. And then after that, then the text goes on to say, why is that? Subhuti, because if a bodhisattva engages in the discriminating a sentient being, he is not to be called a bodhisattva. And so what this in turn shows is that bodhisattvas should be able to see, although conventionally we do talk about, when we talk about bodhisattvas, what we are talking about is that with compassion, the bodhisattvas take the sentient beings as their focus, whereas in the body, in terms of the enlightenment that which becomes their goals, they focus on it through wisdom. And so wisdom helps to gain the certitude in attaining that of the final goal of enlightenment, which in turn is for the benefit of sentient beings. And so here this is in accordance with those of this teaching is being given in accordance with the disciples or followers who are said to be of sharp faculty. Intelligent ones who base their understanding on reasoning. And so although what we have to understand is that although at this stage we are not yet bodhisattvas, but then when we study about the bodhisattva path and the grounds and what it leads to, the final goal of enlightenment, of Buddhahood and so forth, although we have not yet reached those, attained the paths and the grounds and so forth, but then through our study we can gain some kind of understanding that if I train on the path of bodhisattvas, this is possible to attain, that is possible to attain, and so forth. And so you have to have the idea of what you are going to engage in before actually engaging in the practices, because without knowing them, then you cannot engage in the practices. And so here the text is showing us that although we have not attained the path and grounds and all these yet, but if we give thought to them after studying them carefully, and then if we give thought to them, we can see the possibility of attaining the path and grounds. And you gain by using your reasoning, and you will gain certitude in them. And yet you have to see that although these are possible to attain, yet you cannot engage in them with the view that they exist truly. And so that is what this text refers to. And also further it goes on to say that why is that? Subhuti, if anyone engages in discriminating a sentient being, or sentient beings in discriminating a living being, or engages in discriminating a person, they are not to be called a bodhisattva. And so this is also, as said earlier, in accordance with the disciples, the bodhisattvas with sharp faculty, the intelligent ones who base their understanding of the path and grounds and all this, and the understanding of emptiness, using their reasoning power. And so when you train on in the path of bodhisattvas, it is shown that you should not see things as truly existing. although there are those of the practitioners within the Shravakas, by vehicle, in terms of the vehicle they follow, they are Shravakas, like Hinayana vehicle. But then in terms of the philosophical thought that they follow, there are those Shravakas who realize emptiness, and so in that sense they are the followers of the Mahayana the philosophical school. And so you have practitioners of Shravakas who are Mahayana philosophers, belong to Mahayana philosophical schools. So this is also being said in terms of the beings with sharp faculty, the followers with sharp faculty, who checks before they accept things and see it through reason. When they see things as being true through reason, then they accept. And so even bodhisattvas should not see things, sentient beings and so forth, as being truly existent.
그래서 그런 어떤 동기가 모두 갖춰지지 못했기 때문에 설사 법무화를 증득하고 확연하게 안다 하더라도 바로 승으로 따지면은 성문승과 영각승이 되는 것입니다.
当然了，参这样的审计的，明白审计的，当然，大家去问到什么程度？
So at this point we'll do the bodhicitta ceremony, generation of bodhicitta. So
야, 다 준주네. 당연히 그러가도 어느 게라 고불루주기 우머지 태어나라等你당니 직된디 라미 창조 톰되나 대사와 창조심 정확하게 왔다다 초대도비 니지다 니름이데 예시라 저 소인 말에 산지지 고반 토비하게 다교 아니 닝지 싸와 제외 창조심체 닝지의 창조심 니가 나로 좋아체게 양탑에 따와체 디스부디 아니 산지 고반 주비하게 다교조 디스부들이 소인 말에
And so Nagarjuna has said in his precious garlands that oneself and others who wish to, the one who wishes to become and attain enlightenment, the highest enlightenment for the benefit of oneself and others, should train in these three courses for the citta, which are those of the enlightenment, which are those of compassion, which serves as the root for the bodhicitta, and also that of the understanding of emptiness.
말이 대안에 배지 규식이 랑신 되는 럽주 칠 창조심의 깨버기 송도가 랑도 주야이네 창조심 고발을 하가 요 말이스 샹도 주야이네 창조심 고발을 하가 요 말이스 가라슬나 창조심 고는 용도 터도 이네 산지지 고반 토 용도 랑도 탈침 버려 랑도 빵도 탈침 버려 샹도 배밀 흔들지 관에 간다 샹도 죽어야지 쳐야래 뭔도 지금 칠레 니든사에 송야래 남지 때는 거 봐네 저불은 거 봐. 칠레 니든 어디 디디 디시와랑 거네 배밀 흔들도 칠레 디 깨줘야지 쳐야래 사실은 인도 샹도 탈침 버려야래 랑도 탈침 버려야래 근데 중요하게 아니 자와 투서의 창조성 인도 자네 랑다 생기 턴 지침부지 주야 전달을 이 심겨오래 스티송샤
Now, when you talk about reaching enlightenment, you're not saying that you want to become enlightenment for the sake of others. When you say you want to become enlightenment for the sake of other sentient beings, you are not forsaking yours. Not thinking about reaching enlightenment yourself. What is important to understand is that there is nothing higher and a goal than attaining enlightenment, Buddhahood, either thinking about yourself or for the benefit of others. There's nothing, no higher goal than Buddhahood that you can think of to attain. Because when you reach enlightenment or Buddhahood, you are able to help yourself fully as well as help other sentient beings fully. And this is as the ornament of clear realization says, of Maitreya says that Buddhas perform the 27 enlightened deeds for the benefit of other sentient beings, and so they do it effortlessly, and therefore they are able to fulfill their own goal as well as others' interests. And therefore, whether you want to achieve the highest goal for yourself or for the benefit of others, there's nothing greater than thinking of attaining Buddhahood. And the means by which you are led to that Buddhahood is that of bodhicitta. And so, in order to fulfill all goals of oneself, interests of oneself and others completely, then you have to become a Buddha and think of cultivating bodhicitta. I'm sorry, I didn't get that joke. No.
다원나 아니 말아서 가스게 좋은 시리 랑제버 짐베 로직다 아니 당 아당아 신에베 짐버 담보지 다 예브리 엔 디니 타네 말아서 다 토마바네 지금 소소 탄다다 배 랑도 랑지신 제대로 알아봤어 자당 아니 더동지다 랑도베 델을 하지다 주야 가르쳐야 알았어. 제가 매봐 사소치 러이나. 딜랜이야 준주 디송도와. 동면 돈도 로여장 동면 일은 넘버 6. 대원 대장 띠무베 랑게 대와 자든 좀 사지. 디르스모레. 대담바래도 와. 만사mol로 동면 민도 비슷하래. 가설러는 시리. 녀점 민등에 지금 자만들 만드는 게 시작해야지. 자만들 된다기도 봐. 치견게 찬의 집에 있네. 자만들 되게 수시가 말인데 이네 그 지금 뭔지니. 야, 지금 자만들 된다기도 봐. 소수 풍병원의 샤샤네 그 대원 고주 출신절이야. 수구대 가면 가외 동에다 아니 나외 치외 동에다 아니 바도 이네 나외 동에서 해야지 친의 중어 말이 나는 여유로다 엔 디탈이야 가슬러는 지 셈르도 루구균이 징대도 전에 뭐지 균도 여유로 다들 가르쳐야 동엔 돈도 로요장 동엔이 런거 버 죽사야지 동엔 돈도 요아래 동엔 자나 사바시 요아래 이네 동엔이 쭉 싸워대 타직도 랑 제번 집에 로데다 타직도 만 집에 로디기 동엔이 두치고 가서 럽슬러는 시래 디니부데 아주 끼어는 큐는 뜨기만 봐 자 동엔 야가 싸워대 델토요아래 여러분 차이잖아 그제 나 sen 랑 코나삼데로 치좀 숙쳐 예배 저기 라와망 토바망 디겐기 뭐지부 망도가 치점기 샴팽글로 여대봐 즉 사바상고지 제배이나 아니 런신기 그 셈데 파지 러셔베 소르지 능시 년을 샤트야시용래 랑집을 짐벨로티 시부디 장치도 대배이나 능시 잘샤지 차대요. 자 근데 인도잖아요. 녀저 영향이 심을 놓고 랑집을 짐비 진진 부수도고 싶지다. 나르 짐비 지도 나왔는 시 담버는 짐비 나르 짐벨로 쭉 잡으지 예배 인도잖아요. 두면서 대체인 거야. 삼로 되니 주어지 땅투나 남주 말한솔라 동해 계약이 겐싱의 드주테디에 대화 계약 된리에 교투고야래. 달라야 이는 로종나라 땡에 양을 nem버스. 땡에 청수랑도 교었으니 송도가. 로티 장바이나 르 따당 그 교지 땅토나 능시 년을 샤 지제 현주도 좋대야. 그다 된대지기 뭐냐 자네 차대와 푹 기버 랑대와 셴대와 된듯이 용토야지 삼로 토도가 대다다 디수기야라 안데 동행 돈들로 요장 동행 일은 뭐버 죽스 대화되자 띠무베 랑게 대화 자던 점스 대화 영향이 두터도 소소 삼로 지 셴지는 집에 로직다 다음에 보통 로니부지 콤바이나 뭐네 지다 기베 끼고 줘야지 레디네 다 매버리슬라나 어떻게든 그인들이 가서 서서 로를 샤야지 아니 차대가는 거야 고아야 오지 말래나 안도 좀 전에 때 요마를 순수잖아 어다 좀 전에 깔이야 이지 제비 있느니 어다 매버 임버다 삼차야 이지 맞으는 다들 좀 전에 다 가수음을 삼차야지 저도가 그봐 다가는 신기 현집을 집어서야 돼 야고들이 다되다 접종을 삼차야게 양가도와 자 이제 인도 뭐냐 디지 용야가 삼로 양타고들라 지 남밀샤 안도 접종을 써야게 연구도가 하는데 자 이제 인도산에 대원대장 띠무베 랑게 대화 자도 점스다 띠임베 아니 동해 싸워 유목 제용 거야래 다 랑집을 집었다 아니 나르즈벨로 대 차단 걸로다 아제다 차도기 연구도가 디게디 아주 남주이나 로 랑심벌에 삼 찬데 봐마도 될 지 니미스 때네 티파 뇽루당 걸 사베 로커를 매봐 다 지단지 다 롱랑고 사서 다 또서 롱뇽당을 사서 더즈레 마도 싸와 차단리야 견리 생기지 매봐 자 근데 인도 모두 두고 당에게 묘모디에 나도 당 돌린기도 와 배로 차잖아 샤단계 윤도 런이 숭조시에서 줘야래 라는 개진시 차윤도 런이 숭 개진 대 미숙이야 된다라 소수 닝도를 깨체 디에 바이올로지컬 풍부 로단달에 자중기야래 아주 세리구스 세리기도 와 샤단 숙성부 람바이나 샤단 숙 람바이나 차 숙체의 라바간 루거르사 산등에 점저시대 근데 장도 거리에 결론도 은주배 안나 이 부동야 세체 저거로야 아니 그래서 부동맹에서 부동매비 인사고 남선 디아도 전자서 받아시 10십 제 왔습니다 말배야. 제대로 가다 소소 숭야리야 라베 숙제부고로 저자들이 인도 차디 숙세데 라베가 되게 하래. 다 세나레인데 남자 진나다 남자레인데 차디 강과 조주고 배야 같은다. 그래서 그 삼로다 수군주다 니부디 님도 주다되기도 와. 인주 그 세단스야 되기人이 뚝이었다. 뼈야 이미 기셨다. 다 이네 세단기 때문에 세단계 윤도 남주디 배주자야 말이. 된제 윤도 커도 세단계에 왕게 아니 셋또 신년샤로 드즈제의 제체 디 풀을 기한 가르치기면디 커도데 세단계 윤도 가서 우리 그게 몽바 띠묵 시체임도 띠묵 체임도 아니 세단계 윤도 간다 레벨은 차샤네 emotion 싫어식 처벌래 destructive emotion 가서 그렇게 녀적 속행기 아니 emotion 숙처부터 윤도잖아요 그 레벨 디저버 레벨 정심을 봐 대체 렉더니 차더 윤기 당제시야 누버디 총주야래 자 들으인데 차당 잡고께는 영무식 잡고께에 그들로 민요만의 시작으로 와 그人心 현지기 랭닌 집에 르 누버고 가서 펑션 서버에다 간다 레벨 레가 제도가 말해. this absolutely. 저 전에 인도산에 다 간다 동해영야기 싸워로 되지 또 당도 랜디 걸어. 그래서 동해도 로요 있잖아. 동해녀로 뭐 죽어야 돼. 대원도 있잖아. 띠무가 랑게 대화 짜다 좀 써야 돼. 야오 싸움다. 평산 최대의 세력을 주셔야 되기도 와. 심 모티브시라 차윤도 아니 수고에 맞아 차야 심 혈류식 시디여나 수고 때문에 차야 그래서 세력을 주셔야 되기도
어제 여러분들께 이 말씀을 드렸습니다. 그 자기 자신만이 소중하다고 생각하는 그러한 이기적인 마음과 그리고 우리는 일반적으로 아집이라는 견고한 아집들을 가지고 있습니다.
As I said yesterday, we have been rather obsessing with self-cherishing attitude, and which is to say, the self-cherishing attitude at the expense of others since time beginningless. And when we talk about attaining the highest goal of enlightenment or Buddhahood for the sake of oneself and others, one might think that you might think that I've been engaging and I've been selfish all my life, all throughout my lifetime since time beginningless. What more can I actually achieve to fulfill my goal as selfish goals? So, to this, it is said in Bodhicharya Avatara, Shantideva says, in the Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, although they wish to overcome suffering, they run after suffering. And although they wish to have happiness, the ignorance destroy their happiness as if destroying their enemies. And so, because of this selfish attitude that we have been obsessed with, we have obsessed ourselves with since time beginningless, what is the result of it? We can see that so far we have not been able to fulfill our goals completely, and rather than that, we have caused ourselves a lot of problems. We have always been in problems all our lives. Because of this self-cherishing attitude, all kinds of misfortunes have happened to us. We have not been able to fulfill our goals. Everything bad has happened to us. And therefore, you have to now be able to see that the root of suffering is twofold, that of self-cherishing attitude and our seeing or grasping at a true existence of to a person and the phenomena.
우리는 실질적으로 그러한 것들을
So
못함으로 인해서
although we have we have been obsessing with this self-cherishing attitude, and we see that the more you are selfish, the greater difficulty you face in life. And whereas if the more you are compassionate and loving to others, the more you would have a very broad-minded attitude, and also unlike what self-cherishing attitude does to you, which is to say that it turns everything around you, or the whole phenomenon around you, people and so forth, into some kind of an enemy. Whereas if you cherish others more than yourself, you would be able to see everything, all sentient beings and everything as your friends and favorable conditions around you. And so from this what we can see is, if you really give close thought, you would be able to see that what is usually considered to be the suffering, causes of suffering, if you are able to look at it with a positive attitude, then even the misfortunes will appear, or will appear to you as blessings in disguise. And and so you have to see that this happiness or well-being of oneself and others is very much dependent on your outlook on things. If you are able to see things as your friends or your favorable conditions, then you will have happiness. Whereas if you see them as your enemies, then as your unfavorable conditions, if you turn them into unfavorable conditions, then you will see suffering. And so your happiness and others' happiness are very much dependent on your attitude and your way of looking at things. As Shantideva says also, again, that although they wish to have happiness, they wish to get rid of suffering, they run after suffering. So this is exactly what we do. And so, so far we have given trouble to ourselves, caused ourselves much suffering because of not being able to see the things as they are, not being able to understand that things do not have any essential or intrinsically existing selfhood in them, and also because of our self-cherishing attitude at the expense of others. Whereas once you are able to cultivate cherishing others more than yourself, and also understand selflessness, then that is going to be when you have these two factors within you, develop these two factors within yourself, then happiness, there will be onset of happiness within yourself. And therefore, and so with regards to this understanding of selflessness, although the Buddha has taught, given teachings on selflessness so many times, very extensively and so forth, but when we sometimes read these texts on selflessness, or that things do not have any independently existing identity and so forth, then if we are not careful to understand it correctly, then we might fall into the nihilism. So there's this danger of misunderstanding the selflessness. Whereas if you understand it well, then it helps you to have greater pleasure and happiness and well-being within yourself. And then, of course, when we talk about when we hear about teachings on selflessness, sometimes we think, oh, this is like Buddha is saying something which is not really true, or something like that can happen. So nihilism can happen to us. And then, with regards to when we say we have to cherish others more than oneself, sometimes it sounds to some people that this is silly. Why do so? Why hold others to be more dear than yourself? This kind of thought happens to others, but this is we have to do that because, as Shantideva says, those. This is exactly what Shantideva says. Those they wish to have happiness, but the ignorant destroy it as if destroying or conquering their enemies. So we have this kind of attitude within ourselves, and in fact we have this view of looking at this attitude of love and hate as something beneficial, not finding any fault in having attachment or anger or hatred towards others. We don't see any fault in having that, even these things. Or, so what we actually do is those things, those mental attitudes, mental factors, or mental states which give us suffering are seen as if they are friends, and such as for example, when you are angry, we consider anger as or hatred as something that helps us to protect ourselves. And in fact, scientists have said that, told me that when somebody becomes angry, then what happens is the blood flows more into the arm muscles. And therefore, what this shows is that when you are angry at somebody, you tend to go forward to hit the person or something, or to defend yourself. And so, because of that, and therefore, with regard in relation with this, Solomon says that the Korean monks and nuns, their monastic robes they're wearing monastic robes with sleeves, and so when you get angry, then you could how you call it, roll up these the sleeves, and in this way, thereby, and if you want to challenge others, you can do that. Whereas those without sleeves, of course, cannot do that. And then the scientists also say that when someone is anxious or full of fear, then the blood runs more into the leg muscles, and because legs are used to run away from the danger, and so. And so, what happens during these states of destructive states of mind, when these destructive emotions of hatred or fear or attachment and so forth happens? In fact, when hatred or anger, when we get angry, very intensely angry, then we use all kinds of dirty words to. We speak out. We call names on others or use dirty words to speak to others, and bullying or abusing them and the other persons. And then the scientists also have said that when you are angry, when you have full of hate, then what happens is you lose this the capacity of the brain to judge what is right and wrong. So this is reduced because of these destructive emotions like anger and so forth. And so, in other words, the function of the brain is rather minimized by this, and you become rather blind with anger. But we don't see these negative destructive factors, destructive emotions as being bad, but in fact we are willing to take resort to these, use them if need be. But it is important to understand that even the health scientists say that when you can have peace of mind, when you are calm, and when you are full of disturbance in your mind, then you don't have peace of mind.
Duni, the Junjugnaya, Jigden Dawa Chineva, Tegu Shantin Delechon, Jigden Tunge Chineva, Tegu Randon Delechons. Mount Shadow Chishugu, the Chibarangi Tensha, the Tubashin turns of a Dingin in Cabar, that's when Dirisha. So today in Duzane, Dangone, Shan Jibran Logic, Gerashana, and a child of Yundu Dawari. The day in do any Jujunalia. Terre, Jonge Gunseve, Chanju Semji, Dashune. Then at our draw, some sushi Gilun Jurus and Sundova. The Dindig does some gay in the Zane, Galega lesson, the Neg, Soptach, Kadigally Chayomina, and Gombulugi, Umarijitana, Sada Chuda Medal, Medal Convention, Tatu Simjan Tamji, Rangarkami, Jasha Shaws, sending. Lada, Joshi Sushi Wang Yomari, Simji Chilata, Chil Pantong, G, the Dinshi Chayom. Or dinner she Raya, Nangata do with Simjingi, she get up then the shit do a show, Sambachigi. Then they lodge at Gayomina. So lot, but Shivuji Tapa, Le Shabasor, Kuyang Shivita Child, then the Resha. So then this is Shumaina, Chaduine, Sim Tershigi, to Aji, then they are. Any Gale Pejimakaya, then they are. Da Rang Luma Yisum, and it shows Simjang Talia, mixture. Simjan a pamper bushing during do a show, somebody shouldn't do a show, somebody you go repeating it, young manager chickina, time machaya. Simply shitty on there. Pandoy on the edge. That is Che Camalane, the little almost on that. Give it you to yare. That treasure on the Shabayina, Tindreg logic in Duzane, and Gadon Comozu, Soyang, Korangaso, Digjang, Koranga Jones and Sunguyare. Chanju sem my give a corner on the Payag and Yamnisha, Dima the Shenyam Yamaris, Ditchina, Soy, Dizover, Digjang, Dijunguris and Sonre. Dijona, Mondo Toyadi, Shalayonare, Mondo Pusovati, Shalayonare. The day in the any Numo Poyadi, Numo Chedin in the bomb in a Rangshu, Damit of a shiro, corner conto pay, corner conto pay, Jazzing the saw, the jetting child designer, and Casilana Shere, Satumbe, Jew, in the Sajavan Golia, New Dupoya, New Chedin in the bomb, they call a new Dupont there, Yungiare. That didn't match any shitty point didn't go so Yungiare. Or did so Chanju some doggy on the yard. So did he in the Chabongo, Nandru Lamden, Doggish, Turi Lamden, Reptile, Gashimeva, Drangy, Chanju some of the Chasa Ocean, Sunday Doa. Randung is Samutani, Migichupon, Sudum Deda, Shanla Cheve, Loy Changbe, Migichum Nibuti, Chachi Goreti, Gulungi Chabra, shoot you into Sane, the Debu. 다 치중견 다 가서 그게 쉬워지게 잡아야 돼 버리. 어디를 인도산에 어다 샴페인을 넣듯이 끼어라잖아. 어다 여기 기부 주문 미기 주문 그 수립네 수원지 정주성 공원들 지금 냠네 뒤에 하드서 상대해지 누가. 사들이 인도 차이딩 것도 줘야 해. 대용기 더도 내리 줘야 내리 터야 해. 대용기 응원도를 자시하네. 치명으로서도 마찬가지로 천리응원도 뒤에 된다 대바 주용기 류대와 샘기와 아니 나와 양부 전에 미스 대대야 지기 그 영화도 봐. 그래서 드리인데 로드 대바시이나 아니 준준의 심시 수시 기록으로 손는 시리 된저가 다 심기야데 다시랑 개침을 손을 산지 좀 된데 럽자 터두디다 다가나인 버래 루루 약설로서 뭐 뒤에되게 냠시나야 인부데 대인 버래 표 강정의 종기 어떤 제가 다 간다 루루 약설로서 뭐 대다게 제선장에게 다 기부 담바 간다 전문이 디강리야 낭배 유가조를 여den이 기부 담바 뒤에 디데비 수다 냠시나네 다 가서를 그게 랑신기다 다 랑신의 뒤에 타시버스네미도 간다지 아니 주변 고방 야 갈래갈래리베 제도로 돼야 돼 중앙에 다 대대비 수 시에 타는 다 심기야인다
지으신 우리 심석론에 이러한 말이 있습니다.
So, Master Nagarjuna has said that the compassion and bodhicitta are the root of the enlightenment or Buddhahood. And then Shantideva also has said that whatever happiness there is in the world comes from wishing others to be happy, and whatever suffering there is in the world comes from wishing happiness for oneself alone. And therefore, there's what need is there to say more? Look at the difference between the Buddhas and the ordinary sentient beings. The Buddhas have reached enlightenment solely by dedicating themselves for the well-being of others, and the childish only are obsessed with the happiness of oneself. And so what we need to understand is that developing this brave heart of altruistic intention of bodhicitta within oneself in order to fulfill the goals of oneself and others. When you have bodhicitta within yourself, what happens is, said by Shantideva, where he says that this bodhicitta, which does away with all sorts of despair, regarding it, what intelligent person would feel tired to train or develop or cultivate it. And so, similarly, the Nagarjuna says this prayer where he dedicates saying that, may I become the sustenance always for sentient beings, like infinitely or endlessly, like the space, be sustenance in terms of becoming the earth elements, the water the element, the fire, and the wind, and then also like the medicines and the medicinal plants and so forth. And so just as these prayers are made, we have to think of forsaking one's own happiness, well-being, for the benefit of other sentient beings. And so we have to think of, we should think of dedicating ourselves for the well-being of others who are limitless, like the expanse of the space. And we should make prayers in such a way that we dedicate that we become beneficial and helpful to other sentient beings. And so, with regard to this kind of warm-heartedness, this kind of altruistic altruism, even if even those who are non-believers could have such an attitude, such a altruistic thought and attitude, they would find real happiness. They would see happiness really beginning in their life, true happiness beginning in their life. And the Kadamba masters have said that once you have bodhicitta, this alone helps in accumulating and completing the accumulation of merit and wisdom, and this alone helps in purifying all the negativities. And therefore, if you could cultivate bodhicitta, what happens is you are thinking of the well-being of others, bringing others to the highest goal of enlightenment. And therefore, because of this, you, although you do not you're not obsessed with selfish goal of enlightenment as such, but because you are dedicated fully to the well-being of for the well-being of others, your own happiness also comes along with it, such as taking rebirth in the higher realm of existence with all excellent qualities, and also as bodhisattva practitioners of Mahayana, one does not, although one does not make that of the overcoming just the negative thoughts and emotions, the destructive emotions only, to overcoming only this, but you are thinking of overcoming all kinds of defilements, including that of the mainly focusing on overcoming the cognitive obscuration. But because of this bodhicitta, what happens is you are able to overcome even the destructive emotions along the way. And so when you reach the bodhisattva levels of when you reach bodhisattva ground, 8th bodhisattva ground, you are said to have completely gotten rid of all the destructive emotions, but still the cognitive obscuration is left, which is overcome during the 8th, 9th and 10th grounds, and then after that you become a Buddha. So although the bodhisattvas do not think only of overcoming the destructive emotions, that the overcoming of this destructive emotions comes along the way in the process of trying to dedicating your practice for becoming a Buddha for the benefit of others. And therefore, when you reach, because of this, bodhicitta has this power to bring you to this highest goal of enlightenment. And therefore, Maitreya also says that I pay homage to the bodhicitta, which averts those of the path to lower realms of existence, and also which reveals the path to higher realms of existence or higher rebirth, and also which leads to the state of deathlessness and aging. And so with this attitude of bodhicitta, when you do your practice of overcoming the 10 non-virtuous actions and so forth, you are fully dedicating yourself for the benefit of others, and therefore although you are thinking of benefiting others without disregarding others, you are able to help yourself to achieve the highest goal of enlightenment. And so where you fulfill your own goal as well as the goal of others. And therefore all the Buddhas of the past and the masters, bodhisattva and so forth, have dedicated themselves to bodhicitta and become enlightened, or they are in the process of becoming enlightened and so forth. so in order to fulfill the goals of oneself and others fully, one should have this attitude of bodhicitta within yourself. And so with this in mind, please take part in the ceremony.
라마디디에 여삼바체 다 대대전하게 다 제리수 샤샤네 지 야가는 바데 장나를 지금 나주된 denshunang에게 지 라마도조 여삼바체 다 대대전하로 제다 Japanese 베지 가시 요래 아니 베트남에서 요이나 가시 요이나 제니 어다 드르테 소소스로 하는 게다 주주기 라마디리 여삼바체 아니 별 관심이 좀 샤샤나야 아니 강제심의 영향을 쏘고 나가다 리스마체베 제 댄징이 기부 어디리 여광체 다 된는이야 더만 아니 차체베야라 초법베야라 샤베야라 아니 제수 연하베야라 아니 냥알레미도 소데베야라 그래 청국고베야라 냥알레미도 소데베야라 되네는 뭐야 야라제니 야라 dum부디 다 시키던 뭐체 다 별로 예배는 준주고 야라 dum부디 야우사요 상주고 야라 dum부 야우야리 다 이네 뒤 치기는 뭐체 너번들 뭐체니 로르 샤체체 어다 대대 양라 딘지고네 차사고도 드버자와 양나 상상 벨숨스라베이나 에네 제수 이라는 거네 에네 차코네 혼도 빼어체니 대대 튕기 아니 그래서 선을 쌓아야다 개인 뒤도 중요야 어디든 뭐를 땅니 아니 무슨 성야 된다 성송야 그 책이 저는 전도 사바에서 책이 남주 뒤던 되게 봐
And so here, I'm sorry I didn't hear in the beginning very clearly this part, but just roughly speaking, His Holiness has said that imagine the Buddha in the space before you, and also those of the Arahants, those who have become reached Nirvana, such as the those Subhuti, who comes in the text, and then the other masters of India, and Nagarjuna and so forth, as well as Koreans. People have come here. His Holiness also has said that the Koreans can also imagine the masters of Korea. Masters of Korea who have brought Buddhism from China and to Korea, and the lineage masters of Korea and Korean Buddhism, and then also the Chinese masters who brought Buddhism from India into China and spread to other countries such as Japan or Vietnam, and so Japanese masters can also be imagined in the space. Japanese masters who took Buddhism from China, and also Vietnamese masters who took Buddhism from China. So all these lineage masters of the different countries can also be imagined, and also that of the Tibetan masters, such as the 25 pioneers of Tibetan Buddhism, of the Nyingma tradition, Sakya, Gergyu, Gadam, and Gelug traditions, and so with these different lineage masters surrounding the Buddha, you imagine them in the space, and then in order to take this, take part in the Bodhisattva ceremony of bodhicitta, we also, although we will not go through the ritual, the prayer itself, but just imagine that you are doing the practices of prostrating to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so forth, that you have imagined in the space, and also making offering. In other words, the seven-part offering, such as prostration, making offerings, then confessing your misdeeds, and then rejoicing in the good deeds of all, and then requesting the Buddhas to turn the wheel of the Dharma, or to give teaching, and also to request the Buddhas not to pass away and but live in the world, and then finally that of the dedication. And so these are known as the seven limb practice. And so with this, please kneel on your right knee. With regard to the seven limbs, we also talk about accumulating, purifying, and then increasing. So increasing here refers to that of whatever merit you accumulate, it is increased through rejoicing. So going through this practice of accumulating the favorable conditions for generating bodhicitta, and overcoming the obstacles or unfavorable conditions for generating bodhicitta. Please do this in your mind. So repeat this now. Sanje chedan kendön la. Changju nyingbo chigi par. Dagbar dani gyapsu chi.
Sherim Ningzi Tangjebe. Zunbe Simjian Tundu Da. Sanjian Dundu Ne Gide. Zogbe Chengju Sim Geto. Dronam Chendu Sambayi.
With a wish to free all sentient beings,
Sanje Cheda
I shall
Gindula.
always go for refuge
Chengju
to the
Ningbu
Buddha,
Chigi
Dharma,
Ba.
and Sangha
Dagbar Dani Gyapsu Chi.
until I reach full enlightenment.
Shirim Ningzi Tangjebe.
Inspired by wisdom and compassion,
Zunbe Simjian Tundu Da.
today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Dronam Chendu Sambayi.
With the wish to free all sentient beings,
Sanje Cheda Gindula.
I shall always go for refuge
Chengju Ningbu Chigi Par.
to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha
Dagbar Dani Gyapsu Chi.
until I reach full
Shirim
enlightenment.
Ningzi Tangjebe.
Inspired by wisdom and
Zunbe
compassion,
Simjian Tundu Da.
together in the Buddha's presence,
Sanjian Dundu
I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. So please sit down.
소수 청주 선발 교수 선발 맞아. 청주 선발 교야래야. 안다 로몽 고고다.特别싫어는 냠네. 균트니 냠네 전에. 에네 좀 뭐이면 영어식 연습은 청주 선발 차를 마다. 안다 내가 라고 청주 선발 차요 말다. 내 라게 스트레치. 다 청주 선발 인다스로 그 견해 맞아.
So, having taken this part in this bodhicitta ceremony, don't think that you have become a bodhisattva yet. It takes a long time to become a bodhisattva, real true bodhisattva. It takes many years. You have to undergo lots of practice, continually practicing or cultivating the paths of the methods and or skillful means and wisdom, and through these practices then you will become a bodhisattva, and not just by taking part in this ceremony. So by this undergoing or participating in this ceremony with me, don't think that you have been given a certificate of a bodhisattva by me, the Dalai Lama.
명령 장야로 드네 드바는 고추요래. 레디다 지금 고도 동리 다와리야 그로삼 당래 아니 가서는 탈바스야지 여설에 삼으시로 샤이무도 와 엔데네 디 로체체 엔데 남진 되니 그로디 장장장네 다도 로디 튼줄레디야래 교도 샤친샤 얘네 좀么么因为 最名 영원천사의 시합이 가고 싶다래 봐 다다진이 인도 내 냠용선의 장소 가시고 싶다이나 우주 때문에 semlia yuanzhuya yedebada ngone ji shungni shaba na shingi tokbe yonde de rinbe kia yedebe ji de sabshale sa dini indu simshu gen ane changme huda nyamni chore
So, since my childhood, I have studied Buddhism and given thought on these the practices of or understanding of emptiness and bodhicitta and so forth. And so, in the beginning, I gave thought a lot on that of emptiness, and at some point, I have seen that perhaps it's possible to attain that of nirvana. It's possible, but then I also gave thought on bodhicitta. And so it took, now I'm 76, and from my own experience I can tell that although I have put a lot of effort, trained myself or given thought to bodhicitta and that of understanding of emptiness, I cannot still claim that I have true experience of bodhicitta yet. And so, although there may be some kind of so what I can tell from my own experience is that if you keep working, persevering in your practice, then you can see that there's possibility of really developing the experiences within yourself. And so you'll be able to see that gradually your experience and understanding of the Dharma grows.
Yeah. 다전에마 내가 다도 동니 선蒙古지 송대기 외인자네 지금 럽지 러고는 소리지 고물루주기 아니 우마사시험나리야 디송도와 산제 남지 최담바 담바니를 양다 댄스 담바니 가르스로나 지든 군조 담바도 담배통지 담바오스 담바니 용거야 돼 가다다 가슴을 럽지 럽차르지 가다 능주 잠리야 마심 버체체 다 그냥 두슬 주면도 마란주 로이 난게 로이 견 지 녀도 송에게 로 친주로 되기디 지들 나오는 신을 담버지 디터네 아니 차단 걸로 깨야 돼 용되게 하래 자다 디 누버짜야 돼 능수 잠람 차 마셔 봐 내수 가리임버도 삼당네 내수 가리임버도 삼당네 다 내수 지무시 쉐베이나 아니 능수 될라 지기 그게 치주로도 따야 로디 아니 매워서 줘야지 다 전다 디임버래 자 디레인데 간다 전지 인루디다 셰고야지다 전지 인루디 셰베이나 지 나와 나서베 최디들라 지금 아주 저치아 저봐 저치아 디디 아니 코라 뭐유니즈 튜버지 저치도야래 데메드 치들 나와디를 삼을로 담바르 셴니 덴데지가 타네 애는 간소 노주 먹고 좋은데야지 단다 디데레샤 자 디레인도 다 담바니 세트 시고 그래서 좀 된데 최 삼을로 담바니든 된수 다 최 삼을 쇼를 뇌 과주자 가가래 다 안데 실신 흉도 돼디 담바니를 때는 송야래 스타디 송야래 자안데 가사 도저베 날 자신이 담바니부터 송도와 그저 담바 타니베 남샤 직송 이양 데 모니 주요 말에 데 요말에 사이 송도와 저장가 dinre indu tebanyi tende bade sawi shari. Tawa na me sayage kakta kyanya di kaba yungo re. Pena di chengju sembe semje tabi zangda semge go re song. Yini eni semjen yao ma re sanje yao ma re song shepshito wa. Da di tanya tu yao ma re song ba yina dagi yini semje zangda semge sayade da gawa takzhu wa. Eni chomden song di di be gawa pungbu wa. dinre 인도산에 다 좀 된데 매매 소야들이 가와 권에 매 송거랬으나 아니 모니 주고 요 말이다 시신 흉나로 송샤다 들이 리다 탐자장 명점 다점 탄예 다점 신 가당 명점시 탄예 다점시 마도 전진 원에 주고 요 말이스 또 동번이 된 송윤도산에 주도마와 시 다 우승 중된 이부터 최지 다음에다 강사다면 이자 송기하래 대마대니게 강사가 다음에서 모두 송기하 말해 강사가 다음에 되는데 강사를 안제 되게 자유주도에 다음에 송기하래 다 최지 다음에 생긴 이부터 최지 다음에 조단데 강사 다음에 조다 지버래 최지 다음에 조단데 아니 삼삼배 송진이동 다미사 디송이야래 오마베 최탐제 단동 사디 송이야래 담배동 다미 송이야래 다디디 소도 되기도 와다 오마베 나래 낭세기 산제장 산제장도 나와차고 라서고 대다기 아니 탄예도의 랑제 매신 송기하래. 근데 이면 다 안다 조 데려다. 조 룩디 차대요. 룩디 차슈 차대요래. 개가 공부 좀 따다 차대요래. 시 탄예도 랑제 샤바 이나 안다 니질 소 슝즈 나로래야 쑥 동보 니지 동 미시디 쑥니 동보 니당 신 송구도가 다당 안으로 나야게 최전 대 지들 나오는 신 탄예도 여벌 지세 지들 나오는 짓다 탄예배 최대 메스가 말 탄예배 최대 나랑조로 지들 나오는 신 여벌 차샤제 텔 구조 마테베 타네 아니 대 단답을 모니 유튜브에 동을 쓸러베이나 쑥 동보 니지 동을 쳐요래 다 지들 나오는 신 나오다도 주요 말에 신 러윤도 쑥니 동반이는 사야지 차버려. 개발시도가 너의 공부 대단이야. 너밖에 먹고 따다 로통이지. 또가. 근데 이제는 딱 각자 담바 왕실을 나도 민항사다. 네가네. 이니 개발되는 거야. 단담발 모니 뭐주스라 이나 패지 이류가는 저 유마도 똑배가는 저 마도 왕시 온부셔버 각자 담바 민항스야. 다 단담발 담바 주버디 각자를 샤윤데 온부셔버 민항스. 다 탄예도의 랑제 난등의 뒤 가설 샤윤드산에 가지도 원실 능도가 시도 가서 와서이나 내 전화도 때인드산에 전화도 때 민성 다섯 모임바 전진 원의 여러 정 능도가 전화도 나 때인드산에 달라라마사 취디가인데 전진 원의 여러 지 달라라마 떠봐다서 말이 크게도가 신나서 롤 재무도가 어디에 가져 능수 여러 다스sab들이 so 다디 지도 나오는 시 여러이나 어떤 게 두지 교다. 주교는 해야 돼.
네, 여기서 금강경에서는 이제 공성에 대해서 이제 많이 얘기를 하고 있습니다. 그래서 먼저
Now, since in this text that we are going through, the talk on emptiness comes a lot of times. It's important I think it's important to explain what emptiness means. And so, with regards to the teaching of the Buddha, Nagarjuna says in his Fundamental Wisdom Treatise that the Buddhas give teachings based on the two truths, which are the conventional worldly truth and then the ultimate truth. And so, when things appear to us, how do they appear to us? We have to see that first. What happens is there is an appearance of things. The way the things appear to us, we kind of acknowledge them to be true, and then we engage in different activities, we conduct our life and so forth. And but then what you have to understand is that things do not exist the way they appear to us. And so once you are able to see that the appearance is not the reality, and then you will be able to approach, you'll be able to do your things in daily life with a realistic approach. And so until and unless you're able to see the reality, how things actually are, you'll be deceived by the appearance. And then you go through a lot of problems. And therefore, there is this the appearance and the reality. The two the appearance and the reality. And so, there is a way things exist, but then there's also the way things appear to us. And so, when the Panchaparamita Sutras say that there is no identity, no nature or essence and things, what does that mean? It's very clear in the Panchaparamita Sutras, the Perfect and Wisdom Sutras, that from the Panchaparamita Sutras, it's very clear that the Buddha's teachings are based on the two truths. Perhaps it's a different case with the Vinaya text, but the Perfect and Wisdom Sutras are very clear about the Buddha's teaching being based on the two truths. And so in these Perfect and Wisdom Sutras, you find a lot of mention of this is not, that is not, and a lot of negative terms like that. And so what is the Buddha's thought when he says that something is not this, not that? He's not, of course, denying the conventionality of things, because he also teaches the Bodhisattva path. The Bodhisattvas have to do this practice, that practice, and accumulating merit and so forth. And so obviously Buddha is not denying the conventionality of things. But then what he's rejecting by saying this is not and using these negative terms is that things do not have a true existence in themselves. Things do not exist in and of themselves. So with regard to this explanation of selflessness of phenomena and persons, we have the four Buddhist philosophical schools. Those of the Madhyamakas and Chitamatrins accept both the selflessness to the person and selflessness to the phenomena, and whereas the realists, so those of the Sotantikas and Vaibhashikas, they do not, although they accept the selflessness to a phenomena, to a person, they do not accept selflessness to a person as such. And within those who accept selflessness to a person and phenomena both, those of the Madhyamakas and Chitamatrins, with regards to understanding or explanation of selflessness to phenomena, the Chitamatrins say that things are empty of dualism, or things are absent of duality of subject and object, whereas the Madhyamakas say that things are empty of true existence. Now, within the Madhyamaka school itself, there are those proponents of Madhyamaka school, such as Buddhapalita and Chandrakirti, who further say that things do not have any self-characterization, even in convention. So this is the subtlest understanding or interpretation of the selflessness to phenomenon. So according to these two masters, Chandrakirti and Buddha Palita, you cannot say that things have some kind of self-characterization, even in conventionally, because if you do that, if you assert that there is some characteristic, some kind of self-characterization in the phenomenon and beings, then it would be contradictory to the sutra, which says that the form is emptiness, but emptiness does not make the form empty as such. Emptiness of form does not make the form empty. So what that refers to is that if you were to accept some kind of identity, self-identity in phenomenon and things and events, then you would be, when you say, although there is some self-characterization in this and that thing, but then they are ultimately empty. When you say that, then you are actually going against this quotation from the sutra, because you are actually making the emptiness of the empty, the form itself, empty by that of the emptiness of the form, which means that of actually denying the form itself as being conventionally existent. And so because of that, you have, although there is appearance to phenomenon, it is very clear that we see, when we see things, they appear to us as if they have some kind of identity, self-identity in them. For example, if you look at me, when you look at me, you think that, oh, there is Dalai Lama there. And when you say there is a Dalai Lama there, what you are actually perceiving or conceiving is a Dalai Lama who exists independently, who exists from his own side, in and of himself. So that is not the way the Dalai Lama exists, but the Dalai Lama exists merely by labeling, by name. But that is not how the Dalai Lama appears to you. And similarly, when I look at you, this happens. You appear to me as if you have some identity in and of yourselves, and that you are not merely designated. And so it is important to make it clear in your mind that things have some appearance. When things appear to you, they appear as if they have some kind of essence in them, some sort of identity, self-identity in them. But then, if you check whether that is true or not, you find that it is not actually true, that things do not have that kind of status of existence the way they appear to you, but it's empty of that way of existence. And therefore, the sutra says the form is not emptied by the emptiness of the form.
다 째나 니고야래. 저들이 유튜브는 가서 또 투표용물이 차잖아. 또 투표용부스잖아요. 민대 딱섬시 미샤와. 또 투표용부스는 투표용부 삼이기 풍부 뭐네. 또 투표용부시 예대서 로셔도와. 다 뒤여베이나. 아니 어서셔나라. 풍부 내시면 달라테미 ter테미 디시시고 풍대미 디시시고 강신인세. 다 디시고 제거래. 제도니야요도. 다른 집에는 안 와서 사시나 기부섬이 추모이 매매룸이 나가면 남심이 그러면은 텔레신의 기부함 셴이 기부니야면 봐 다음에 기부 매버려서는 매버 말이 오늘 컨디션이어서라베이나 기부 컴준 뒤베치 양다마이 기부 컴준 뒤벌 때네 딱섬시에 마도 양다버 이거 말이스 모니 주요 말이스 어디 숨겨야 다 대대로 모니 주요 똥한디 나 금들 쉐베다 취지다미 신내면도다 다음에 참모도 되래. 룩디 원도 전에 가사가 다음에 참모디다 디강 찍거래. 가사 원이 주변 동안에 가사 다음에 샤잉거야래 가서 안주트비 자유 동안디 레다레디 이네디 담이 rak바레마도 담이 참어도 말했어 강사가 담이도 최이 담이 참여가는 샤비는 동시 출신 개발마도 시집거리 채베 다와 대대비 동리 바 리베 땅을 펌니 녜바이나 가란소 로리야 다 전형은 여버지 낭네 디시샤가 돈에 차단게 되고 또 쇼총 등도
그래서 여러분들이 이제 앞서
And so, although things appear to us as if they have some kind of essence, independent existence in them, but they do not exist in that way. They are merely labeled, designated, and imputed. And so, if the things were to exist the way they appear to us, then we would have to be able to find them. And when we take them apart and try to find that identity that appears to us, and so we cannot find them when we analyze things, and so this shows that the appearance is not the reality. And we can take the Buddha Shakyamuni himself as the object of our analysis here. When we think about, or when we see the Buddha or think about the Buddha, we have this notion of a Buddha existing from his own side within the psychophysical aggregates, which are of course pure psychophysical aggregates within the Buddha, but the Buddha appears as if he is within the psychophysical aggregates, somewhere from within this the psychophysical aggregates, and therefore, in order to see that the Buddha does not exist from his own side, from the side of the aggregates and so forth, we can go through this the analysis which is done by Nagarjuna in his fundamental treatise, fundamental wisdom treatise, where he says the Tathagata is neither the aggregates nor it's different from the aggregates. The Tathagata is not in the aggregates, nor the Tathagata, the aggregates are in the Tathagata. And so, so what is the Tathagata? And so, with regard to that question, Nagarjuna himself says that when you analyze further, when you analyze a person, you will not find the person either as the elements of earth, or elements of earth, water, fire, wind, space, nor the consciousness. And then, apart from this, what is a person, he asked. And then after this question, he gives the answer saying that a person is someone who is merely designated upon the assemblage of the 6 elements. So this shows that a person or a Buddha is only designated on the basis of the aggregates or the constituent factors, which on the assemblage of which you label the Buddha or Shakyamuni or this and that person. And so it's clear that you cannot find a person when you analyze the person, take apart the person's physical aggregates and consciousness and so forth, but they do still a person exists by way of name.
Now
His Holiness will read through the text, and when there is a need for some explanation, he will do so.
Never. Tedar, Chanju Sembe Chibachino, the Chishana, Ramjor Shinjusamba, Kang Mineva Chibachimba, the son of the Punguni, Ramjor Chan Son Lawa, Mayin Bichero, Ramjor Dishinan Sem. 샤쇼지 남게서 손와라 냠음 저저서 뭐 좀된데 되네 말아서 좀된데 제가 저버저 대신도 로도도 장다 등도 와도 와게 저도 총점도 초주 남게서 손와라 냠음 저저서 뭐 좀된데 되네 말아서 좀된데 제가 저버저 대신도 저서 가만 냠네 보러 짐바데 손오지 공네 ramjo sa so lawa membe chero 자다디 진속 탑을 넣고 그래스 이내 진속 탑을 넣베체 진속로 뭔가 셴베권을 넣기요 말이스 대미덕의 싫어기 아니 지스베 타네 넣고 그래 스타디 송기하래 코스 넘버 메토뱅안에 넣고 그래 디지털다.
So, His Holiness read up to this passage which is Subhuti. What do you think about it? Is one viewed as the Subhuti, similarly, the heap of merit or the Bodhisattva who gives a gift without abiding is also not easy to take measure of. And so this shows, up to this, what is shown is that of practicing or in the perfection of the generosity and so forth. In other words, the skillful means part of the practices of bodhisattvas. So when the bodhisattvas train in them the generosity and so forth, the skillful means part of the practices, they should not train in them with a view that these practices of generosity and so forth exist truly, but that they are empty of any true inherent existence. In other words, there's the agent, the giver, the gift, and the person giving, the action of giving, and so have to be seen as being empty of any inherent existence. So within this perspective, the bodhisattvas have to engage in the practice of giving and so forth.
Sampusun sobe disha tawar chanyam, Roji Saba Jumden General, Sampusun sobe disha tam yi laso. Tichi ledo jana disha Pusun soba shi kang sumba tini. Sampusun soba mashibe ledo, Teja Sama Jona Deja Kado Ramjo, Chizam to Samsun soba Tesam to Juno. Chizam to Samsun soba Meva Tesam to Mizuno. Da Changju Tani Sage. Semjen Nanget had to be Simjan Sanjay Salia, Gove Ledo, Rangi, Dedevi Changju Goban, Chandugi, Lo, yeah, this Sungiari, Changju Tani said, Sungiari. Then any so Changju Tanigi, Tandunia, so the Sanji Sugudre. Kareslavna, Chugudi, Ranigi, Mondu Kutevimado, Dijal Musnani, Shanducha Yamare. Sugudi. Digital Musna Gone, Shandichi Vidane, Tundun Chusu Kuinane, Tundun so de Shandu Susa Chadiare. Dedevi Shandu Sugu Tayang, Mingzam, Dazam race, Tobje Sanji Yukovan, Santa Pejaki, Sugu de, number Shani, the Tobja Calendar, that is one.
And then His Holiness read up to this point where it says, to the degree there is no perfect marks, to that degree there is no deception. And what this actually shows is that when someone engages in the practices of bodhisattvas, such as aspiring to become a Buddha for the benefit of other sentient beings, and thinking of leading all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment, Buddhahood, what they should understand is that when you think of becoming a Buddha, there is the two aspects of Buddha within the Buddhahood. One is the physical aspect, and which is meant for the to help or serve other sentient beings, and then there is the Dharmakaya dimension, which is for the Buddha himself. And so, out of these two aspects of Buddhahood, the Buddhas coming in the form of appearing in form, such as the Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, when they appear in these forms, then they are able to serve other sentient beings. And so out of these two aspects of Buddhahood, this is the main goal of becoming a Buddha. And so, whereas the Dharmakaya is something that the Buddhas can attain, Buddhas attain, but then they are not directly accessible to sentient beings, whereas the physical dimension is directly accessible to the sentient beings. And so, with this in mind, someone aspiring to become a Buddha have to think mainly of attaining this form dimension, the physical dimension of a Buddha, which benefits other sentient beings.
가지지 말라라는 그런 의미입니다. 그래서 여기서 상호를 부족했다라고 하는 이런 것은 바로 상호를 부족하는 그러한 색신, 절실히 구하는 그러한 색신조차도 바로 부족함이 없다라는 것은 바로 그러한 것이 문자적으로 바로 이름만으로서 존재하기 때문에 그러한 진실이라는 그 집착을 버리고 여기에 대한 구하는 마음을 가져야 된다라는 그러한 뜻입니다.
나중에 대개 가자와 당 성전은 다 안도 되게 수구튼이지. 다 추구튼이. 추구리야 땜바 추구다. 또바 추구 니샤네. 다 땜바 추구디. 대개 가자와 당 좀 된데 나서는 뭐를 얘기게 저도 좀 되네. 마음베트 맞아 담아라. 담저로도 나버지고 저는 섬제 가라라. 다 제대로도 제시 샤바다라 양도 쇼뭐 제번주와. 중 다시 라삼 좀 되게 가서 좀 강주 되게도 마음베트 맞아 담아라. 담배저로도 나버지고 저는 섬제 가라라. 다 제대로도 제시 샤바다라 양다 원도시 제번주 중 다시 라서 시켜 되게 맞으지. ramjoro mongbe de ngaja damala domjoro duna baraje bojono shajusan ba samju sudum dan boda yanden dan ba shiro dan boda jung de baro shiro samba chan bo tada jang sanje chigla de ningul jaba me sanje chigla ma ga je ba me ramjo sanje bunja do ma ningul je sanje bunja do la ge wa za wa da je me shiro samba chan bo tada jung ro ga da je de do je chi shebe 샤바 뭐라 샤바다라 선 다바 지금 상황에 보여주던 대시배 캔도스 ramjojadan jibse de baran jorosun sunni bon pardon ma ba ji yongso de bon gyoro de shene daade da maobana sanje yene tambadi jingdu negres ane maobari ne 제네 선언이 풍부배 침보던 데에 이 자주 사봤던데 뒤절이야 이 계획신이 제네 이 최대한 연구를 선송인 말이에요. 제가 어디 아니 가서 대대변이 장주고 산다. 다가는 동료들 따와도 돼야지. 랑게 지 롱드니 시트야 용 말이스. 산지지 송로 때니 더버디디 시고그레스 와다 델레야 이네 땡갱이 계획신이 고그레 센터 디디직 땡고요 탄여로 이 땡고요 다 디디한 단단마 데 가야 맞어 그랬어 송도와
그다음에 그렇게 말씀하시자부터 시작해서 이제 쭉 읽으셨습니다. 수보리아 그런 보살 마하사들은
And so after the last passage on page 5, at the end of the page 5, it says, he said that, and the Venerable Subhuti replied. So from this point onwards, what is being shown is that of the Dharmakaya, which is for the interest of oneself. And then next His Holiness stopped at the second paragraph on page 6, beginning with Subhuti, those who will acquire, and went down to Subhuti, all those sentient beings will produce and perfectly collect an unfathomable heap of merit. So what this shows is that in the future also, there will be Buddhas the teaching of the Buddha will be preserved for long, and for a long time. And then also it shows, these passages show that there will be great bodhisattvas with great, very powerful merit, who have amassed great merit, who would come in the future and serve sentient beings. And so in this, it is also shown that the bodhisattvas cannot attain their realizations, the experiences, spiritual experiences on their own, but then they would have to rely on the teaching of the Buddha, which in turn shows that they would have to rely on teachers.
대다게 다동서 뭐주지 심제도서보다 소도보다 가서도서 뭐주베 저로 개대 쳐다 저 개대 쳐다에 뭐라도 주는 되니 대다게 다동서 뭐 주신 아디나 가지고 개대 쳐다 매버 두신 주는 양스 다 동번이도 숨겨야래 나저야 몽구지야 로리야 동번이 사데 단담담바레스 다데베 땡구리 사바로데 양로를 샤잉도와 스라다 단담담바스 민도야데 단담사야데 로 단담을 지니 대니야시베 인도산에 단담담바스는 샤와마도 야 가자 모니 유튜브에 담바달라 지기야 말이 단담담바 냠샤이 시기 녀야체니 대응을 다 담바지 사용하마도 야 돈이 단담담바 코라 야 체실샤니 디 인수 근저를 봐 잡이나 야 니야메데 시기 동번이 니용이하래 어디 숨겨하래
그다음에 그 아까 스쿠리아스랑
and then after that so why is that, Subhuti? Because I think it says, because if those bodhisattva masters engage in discriminating phenomena, that itself would be of them grasping of self. And so this one refers to the fact that when, of course, the bodhisattvas have to engage in their practices of generosity and so forth, within the understanding that they are empty of any essence, they're empty of inherent existence. But then, when having said that everything is empty, what about the emptiness itself? So if emptiness itself is taken as having some kind of essence, then again this is wrong. This is what is being taught here. And so emptiness itself becomes empty of true existence. Empty of true existence. And so when we talk about the ultimate truth, the ultimate truth refers to emptiness. And so ultimate truth itself has to be understood as being empty of any essence. Because if you cling to some essence in it, then you're actually not able to see the truth as it is, the emptiness as it is, and therefore you have to establish or be able to see emptiness itself as being empty of any essence, and therefore you have the teaching of emptiness of emptiness.
두신 매번 가서 개대 다음에 두신 중간에 되다가 다도서 뭐 유신 저는 소도도 가서도 뭐 디지셔널로 조선바 최장 로바송 메저데 최마이 뭐저로 대면은 텔레 공대 대신 시비신론디 신도부시바 나머지에 최 나머지가 뭐 최마이 뭐 다시 시 송소스 다디 페이지 lungu chu di ada de kasa gyulamen nali ya bangchi luwe chuchenchi menshi jikdan jebe shir sunwa nang shiri chunnamni da pakwezo tenjib zhoma ino sene da tuantanbe gyab yimin ya jik yao chen udo ada di pezi yinsari sing dobur sheba namji chun na je pangwa chanda shema yinpa na da ji she sungso da jina togo chugu sungi yari shen yang shimde de je sadan de baro zhong dige je ka ze de wa ram zhong de xin yin do seme de xin she wa gang la na wa yang da wa so be sheng zhu wo zuo sang so be sheng zhu du wo wa zuo sang jie be xue jie gang yang yuan yan mo di bi xue jie gang yang den yan mo dige je ka da shimde de la wa sadan de baro zhong dige so do mo shimde de da ge me shimde de ji sung be tuan ca wa da na de xin she be gang la na wa yang da wa so be sheng zhu du wo wa zuo sang jie be xue jie gang yang mo qi la so 디지집에 되면 최대 강양 뭐실라서 디지를 디지집에 최대 강양 뭐 봐서 상계와 뭐 때마다는 숨도 뭐지 줄로 뭐지 돼 되는 최양 아마라 최 뭐시 봐야 말아버려도 디지 제샤나 파베야 가서는 뒤머제 디버로도 셰베라도 오 된다 주는데 제가 가서 버는 좋은데 진ям도 셈 리기보 리기모 강하다 지금 또 집에 지가 지renje kam dirbuda dirbuda kawa jide jibajina ribo ribo de jeno no boga mangdo je tham mangdo je nyam ramjo je sa bo de mang la zo de je do bo mangdo ribo ribo de de jeno no yo mangdo je do de je no no yo muti kumbu machi be le do de de yo no yo mo so no yo mo she so so ne de ga ribo mo kang 그 동수동주들이 감 이제 뭐 전나준지로 가오라 저도 지금 왜 그런 거 최근 남단 딜에 타나 식십에 수수 잡아서 뭐 소원에 매셔나라 최정의 양도 버도 되나 시들을 수용 부치 망도 장매 받아 버지들이 너무 저 대신 셰고 자주 뭐 양도 버서 그냥 뭐 양도 버서 성주는 딜에 중대 산지 좀 된데 나만 장은 딜에 개베 제로 어디 시르님이 나려요. 투숨도 주고 산자 탐제 장 시르지 받으신 보다 때네 라나와 야도 소리도 모두 상 계속 소원하신 다 산지 고반 토비아 되니 돈이도 시름 줄 때네 연구를 신소야 다 뒤순 거래. 태양 산지 살려야 저번 일시 세송도 와. 저번 일시 시대 봐스 이게 런신 남다 단 양대세하고 양대를 시 송도와 런신 양대, 하제 양대, 하면 양대, 메네베 양대스. 그래서 양대 치모 송용야 그 심어르지 런신 양대세야 돼. 또 산제가 살이야 런신 양대세 간 동니의 시기야. 다 잡아타라 시대야. 그 동니 거래 런신고 나와 나서 디탐절로 애니 봐. 저에서 타달로 그 바다 왼배 간다다 런신 각성 그다 동산지래도 와. 저도 산지 살이야. 아니 상계 사가 탄다 뭐마디 시서 타다로落게 봐. 시서落게서 가서 거슬러나 지대 대한라 냐바라 샤신도 진입에 쳐 타다 무슨도 직접도 세게 찍을落게 봐. 쓰겨. 대니 직접도 쓰고 써야지. 어디 디 용어라야 냐라 세상에 나와디 타다서 녀월 시외 잡아타다 녀시에 취지인 대코나 응원도 주땡에게 박배냠샤 응원도 제고도 되면은 용말에 다 남시지 집어 사이인도잖아 돈이는 냐바 샤시버 댕 안에 애니 진입이 취지들이 로티 뒤직도 습해야지 용기하래 어제는 이 말이에요
We're on page 7, second paragraph. First, the paragraph reads, therefore, thinking of that Tathagata, if said, if by those who know, so this whole paragraph refers to what this teaches is that all the Buddhas, just as it is said in the Heart Sutra, all the Buddhas of the three times also have reached full enlightenment through this perfection of wisdom. So this is the meaning of this passage. And then next is always commented on
그리고 뒤에 그
Oh, I'm sorry. The first, this paragraph, I got it wrong. It has to be this one. What this shows is that, as it is said in Mahayana Anuttara, is that Mahayana Uttara Tantra, that once you become a Buddha, you have crossed the to the other side of the ocean, so to say, and therefore, once you have reached the other side of the ocean, you don't need the boat anymore, and therefore, the dharma that you have practiced so far is no more needed to train yourself because you become a Buddha and fully enlightened. And so here also there is the meaning of the difference between ultimate refuge and conventional refuge and so forth, which are also taught in that same text, Mahayana Uttara Tantra by Maitreya. And then after that, on page number 7, the next paragraph refers to the meaning of this paragraph is that the same as what is said in the Heart Sutra, that Buddhas, even the Buddhas of the 3 times, also become enlightened through the perfection of wisdom. And then on page number 8, there is this passage which reads that the Tathagata, because the unsurpassed, on line number 4, or 3 and 4, Subhuti, because the unsurpassed, perfectly completed enlightenment of Tathagata, or heart perfectly completed Buddhas arise from it. The Buddha Bhagavans also are produced from it. So this shows that of the what is called natural nirvana. Natural nirvana refers to emptiness of the mind, So, because there is this basic quality of the mind being empty of any inherent existence, therefore there's a possibility of becoming a Buddha. And emptiness itself is the mere absence of true existence of any phenomena. And so that vacuity, when you see that the absence, the vacuity or the absence of true existence of inherent or independent existence, that is the emptiness. And so the Buddhas are called Buddhas or enlightened ones because they know everything. They have full knowledge of everything, and so their mind, or the omniscient mind, encompasses everything that is in the universe. And here what is implicated also is that the Buddhas have, when the Buddhas are able to see emptiness, they are also able to see the varieties of things together simultaneously. And in order for that to happen, what you have to go through is the process of during the training, while you train on the path to become a Buddha, you have to be able to, at some stage, be able to overcome all elaborations, mental constructions, and so forth, and therefore, without which you cannot see everything simultaneously, as the Buddha sees.